Sweden's ground forces are entering a new phase where ambition is no longer measured by a few elite battalions, but by the ability to generate mass, sustain it, and integrate it into NATO's operational logic. The hard question Swedish viewers keep circling back to is not whether Sweden can buy advanced platforms. It is whether Sweden can build an army that can endure, with trained crews, spare parts, ammunition stocks, and a mobilization system that turns peacetime structures into wartime volume without collapsing under its own weight. The procurement headlines are already significant. Sweden has moved to buy new Leopard 2A8 main battle tanks and upgrade a large portion of its existing Leopard fleet, a deal publicly described as worth roughly 22 billion Swedish kroner, or about 1.97 billion United States dollars. Deliveries for new and upgraded tanks have been presented as starting in the late 2020s and then running into the early 2030s, which immediately frames the debate. This is a rebuilding effort, not an overnight transformation. For a Swedish audience, the Leopard decision is about more than armor. It signals a return to heavy maneuver as a credible deterrent, particularly under a NATO framework that prizes the ability to reinforce and hold terrain. Yet the deeper issue is readiness. Tanks do not deter if they are in maintenance backlogs, if crews are undertrained, or if ammunition and recovery assets are insufficient. In a high-intensity fight, the kill chain is only as strong as the repair chain behind it. Sweden is effectively betting that a modernized stridsvagn force can anchor brigades that are not merely symbolic, but operationally reliable. Parallel to tanks, Sweden's infantry fighting vehicle story may be even more strategically central. The CV90 is not just a platform, it is a national industrial asset and a doctrinal workhorse. In 2025, Sweden signaled interest in pursuing a joint acquisition of several hundred CV90s together with Norway, Finland, and Lithuania. That kind of cooperative procurement is not a public relations exercise. It is a practical attempt to shorten timelines, expand production, and create a broader user community that can share training lessons, upgrades, and sustainment patterns. Modernization steps also show what the Swedish Army is prioritizing after the drone and artillery lessons of recent wars. A notable 2025 contract for Kongsberg Protector remote weapon stations, valued at more than 400 million Swedish kroner, with potential expansion, points toward an army adapting for better situational awareness, protected firepower, and survivability in contested environments. These are not glamorous changes, but they align with a trend Swedish viewers understand. Survivability is now a systems problem, not a single vehicle problem. The third pillar is artillery, and here Sweden faces the classic European dilemma. The gun is only half the story. Sweden completed the delivery of its upgraded Archer self-propelled howitzers back to the Army in late 2025, closing a modernization loop that matters for responsiveness, mobility, and precision fires. At the same time, Sweden's broader support packages and procurement choices underscore that long-range fires remain a strategic currency in Northern Europe. But artillery is where the sustainment reality hits hardest. Sweden has signed major ammunition deals, including contracts worth over 5 billion Swedish kroner with suppliers such as Rheinmetall and Nammo, explicitly aimed at shells and propellant charges that support systems like Archer. Sweden's own government communications have also highlighted the objective: resilience and access to critical material, with deliveries starting in 2025 and continuing in the years ahead. For Swedish viewers, this is the key lesson. An artillery force without stockpiles is a plan without endurance. This is also why industrial capacity is no longer a background topic. In December 2025, Reuters reported that a Swedish explosives startup received approval to build a TNT production facility, targeting roughly 4,500 metric tons per year by 2028. In a different era, TNT would sound like an industrial footnote. Today, it is strategic. Explosives and propellants are pacing items for munitions output, and munitions output is what turns brigade structures into sustained combat power. Swedish audiences tend to be pragmatic. They can see that a modern army is not just vehicles and uniforms, but chemistry, logistics, and contracts. Operational geography then brings the story to Gotland, the Baltic's hard reality check. Sweden's re-established mechanized presence on the island, built around armor and CV90s, is not primarily about winning a decisive battle there. It is about denying an easy fait accompli and complicating any hostile plan with immediate costs and NATO implications. Publicly available descriptions indicate an ongoing plan to expand trained conscript output tied to the Gotland defense concept by the late 2020s. Whether every detail lands as planned, the direction is clear. Sweden wants a defended Baltic tripwire that is credible, not ceremonial. So what does success by 2030 actually mean for Sweden's ground forces? It does not mean having the newest vehicles on paper. It means Sweden can field combined arms brigades with enough trained personnel, functional maintenance pipelines, and ammunition depth to sustain operations for weeks, not days. It means integrating with NATO reinforcement concepts, aligning communications and logistics, and expanding the conscription and reserve ecosystem to create real throughput. There are still failure modes Swedish viewers will want confronted directly. The first is time. Many deliveries and upgrades arrive late in the decade, and deterrence is a present tense problem. The second is bottlenecks. Ammunition, propellants, spare parts, and trained maintainers are harder to scale than platforms. The third is coherence. Buying tanks, IFVs, and artillery does not automatically create a warfighting system unless doctrine, training cycles, and sustainment funding move in lockstep. Yet, Sweden's direction is strategically coherent. The tank upgrades and acquisitions provide armored weight. The CV90 path provides mechanized volume and industrial leverage through regional cooperation. The Archer and ammunition decisions, alongside a renewed focus on explosive supply chains, acknowledge the uncomfortable truth that firepower is only real when it is repeatable. And Gotland anchors the whole project to a place where readiness is not theoretical. The strategic message to Swedish citizens, to NATO allies, and to any adversary is not that Sweden seeks escalation. It is that Sweden is rebuilding the grounded fundamentals of deterrence, mass, endurance, and integration. In the 2020s, that is what separates a modern army that looks capable from a modern army that is actually usable.